We all remember Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, and GoldenEye. But what about the games that didn't make it into the greatest hits reel? The Nintendo 64 library had some of the weirdest, boldest, and most forgotten games ever put on a cartridge. Some were buried under Mario's shadow, some never stood a chance, and some, well, maybe they should have stayed forgotten. Well, let's dive into 10 N64 games that Time and Nintendo would really prefer you forgot existed. Coming in at number 10 is StarCraft 64. Yes, that's StarCraft. The legendary PC real-time strategy game somehow crammed onto an N64 cartridge in the year 2000. It's the full campaign. 3 races, tons of tactics, just minus a few cutscenes, some visual polish, and the mouse support. StarCraft 64 was a surprisingly faithful port of the legendary PC game, including the original campaign and the Brood War expansion. The big catch? No mouse support, no keyboard support, and no online multiplayer. If you played this version before touching the PC version, you might call it a great game. If you played the PC first, well, you probably had some choice words. The graphics take a hit, things can get pretty laggy when the screen fills up with units, and your units have a bad habit of turning around to fight when you told them to run away. But for what it is, it's still impressive, with smooth gameplay most of the time, deep strategy, and ridiculous replay value. You can sink hundreds of hours into experimenting with different builds, races, and absurd strategies like creep rushing just for the chaos. It's not the definitive StarCraft, but for N64 players back in the day, it was a surprisingly solid way to wage intergalactic war from your couch. At number 9 is Chameleon Twist. Released in 1997 by Sunsoft, Chameleon Twist was one of the early 3D platformers, riding the wave after Super Mario 64's release. It's a quirky Alice in Wonderland-inspired adventure starring Davy, a regular chameleon, who follows a white rabbit into a portal and comes out in humanoid form. The big hook is Davy's tongue. You can latch on to poles to swing, you can pogo higher, slurp up enemies, and spit them out like a machine gun. You can even swallow up to 20 enemies at one time, though the more you carry, the slower you move. Levels make clever use of the tongue mechanic, hiding crowns and secrets that push your movement skills. Unfortunately, the fixed camera is a nightmare, in tight spaces, making depth perception tricky and platforming more frustrating than it really should be. The game is also surprisingly easy, rarely asking you to fully master its mechanics outside of a few great boss fights. Chameleon Twist is short, flawed, and a little undercooked, but its unique tongue-based gameplay still makes it one of the more memorable oddballs in the N64's early lineup. Chameleon Twist is a perfect example of that N64 energy that's janky, ambitious, and oddly charming. At number 8 is a game called Rakuga Kids. The N64 wasn't exactly known for its traditional fighters. Well, unless you count Smash Brothers. Most of what we got was clunky stuff like Bio Freaks or Clay Fighters. But in 1998, Konami's Kobe studio dropped Rakuga Kids, a 2D fighter with a cast of paper-flat cartoon characters drawn to life by magical crayons. The roster is as weird as it sounds. You've got Astronaut, the Spaceman, a boombox-wielding cat called Captain Cat Kit, Marsa the Witch with her sentient chicken hat, a teddy bear on tank treads, and a ghost dog final boss. Gameplay borrows from Capcom's Marvel vs. series, with 6 attack buttons, a magic button for supers, double jumps, and cyclone attacks that launch players for mid-air combos. It's charming, full of color, and surprisingly smooth for the system, even if the controls feel a little stiff when you're playing. Sadly, it never came to North America, just Japan and Europe. But it's still one of the most creative fighters on the N64. And hey, Bear Tank even went on to cameo in Castlevania Circle of the Moon. Today, it's a collector's gem and a shining example of Konami at its most experimental. At number 7 is a game called Hybrid Heaven. Konami put out some of the better third-party games on the N64. This one just wasn't one of those. Hybrid Heaven is a 1999 sci-fi action RPG that's part Resident Evil, part JRPG, part MMA simulator, and part what were they smoking? You play as Slater, exploring an underground alien base between cutscenes that swear you're in New York City. The combat is the best part. One-on-one fights where you position in real time, pause to pick attacks, and chain together combos. Every body part in this game levels up separately, so if you want stronger legs, you quite literally have to kick monsters until your shins end up registered as concealed weapons. The rest? Recycled hallways, identical keycard rooms, and a plot that barely connects to anything you're doing. You'll fight exploding Roombas, wander through levels you've already cleared, sometimes just with fire added in, and get monologued at by aliens who can't even agree on their own evil plans. It's not a hidden gem, but if you like your retro with a little jank and the occasional alien suplex, Hybrid Heaven is at least worth a weekend of weirdness. Critics were split. Some loved its bold ideas, others thought it was an identity crisis in cartridge form, but no one can deny, it's one of the strangest RPGs of the generation. Next up at number 6 is Bomberman Hero. Bomberman has always been the life of the party. Frantic multiplayer chaos, friends yelling, and explosions everywhere. But in Bomberman Hero, released in 1998 by Hudson Soft, they decided to skip the party entirely and focus on a big single-player adventure, with no multiplayer at all. Instead of the usual maze-like arenas, this one is more of an action platformer. Bomberman can run, jump, and throw bombs directly at enemies. Levels are wide-open 3D spaces with a bit of platforming, some collectibles, and almost no walls to blow up. It's fun until the game insists you hop into one of the slow, clunky vehicle stages. A helicopter, jetpack, snowboard, or submarine, which kills the pacing faster than a bomb to the face. Still, there's plenty of content here with over 70 levels, upgrades and hidden medals that unlock extra modes and stages. The visuals are plain early on, but the real highlight is the soundtrack. It's got some of the catchiest music on the N64. It's not the Bomberman you know, but if you're in the mood for a solo adventure with a killer soundtrack, Bomberman Hero delivers. Just maybe skip the vehicle levels. Coming in at number 5 on the list is Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. Take a little bit of Zelda Ocarina of Time, a pinch of Mario 64, and a whole lot of Japanese culture weirdness, and you've got Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. Released in 1998 by Konami, it follows Goemon and pals on a quest to save Japan from the Peach Mountain Shoguns, a flamboyant duo who want to turn the country into one giant stage production. It's part action-adventure, part platformer, with 4 playable characters, each with unique abilities, and even giant robot battles against mechanical bosses. The game bursts with bizarre humor, fourth wall breaks, bad puns, and some of the best music on the N64, blending traditional Japanese melodies with upbeat modern tunes. The downside? It's short, easy, and the camera can be a pain during tricky jumps. The overworld map is useless, and there's not much in the way of side content. Still, its charm, vibrant visuals, and goofy personality make Goemon one of the most unique and memorable adventures on the system. It's one of my personal favorites. At number 4, we have Mischief Makers. Released in 1997, Mischief Makers was the first treasure game released on a Nintendo console, and one of the few 2D side-scrollers on the N64. You play as Marina, a crazy robotic maid out to rescue her kidnapped creator from the clutches of the bizarre Clancer aliens. The big hook is her grab and shake mechanic. You can pick up enemies, items, and even parts of the environment, and shake them to trigger effects, solve puzzles, or just toss them into oblivion. Combine that with her rocket boost for bursts of movement in any direction, and you get platforming that's constantly innovative, with new ideas in almost every stage. The highlight? The boss battles. Huge, clever, and packed with personality. Visually, it's bright, the sprites hold up well, and it's still charming today. The soundtrack is upbeat and quirky, with voice clips like Marina's iconic Shake Shake, burned into players' memories. It's short, but packed with creativity, making it one of the most unique and overlooked gems on the N64. It didn't review super well at launch, but over time, Mischief Makers gained a cult following, and is now considered one of the system's most unique games. At number 3 on the list is Eiden Chronicles: The First Mage. When Eiden Chronicles hit the Nintendo 64 in 2001, it was supposed to be the big, traditional RPG fans had been waiting for. What we got instead was a slow, clunky, and often frustrating experience. The story starts with Alron, a would-be hero leaving his castle to help a farmer, and within an hour you're wandering massive, mostly empty castles trying to find the king. Combat is a slow, grid-based, turn-by-turn affair, where battles can drag for 10 minutes, and you'll miss more attacks than you land. With no random encounters, leveling up can be a slog, and if a party member dies, well, they're gone for good. It's not all bad, the music is pretty decent, and there's some atmosphere in the sound design, but stiff character models, repetitive environments, and a lack of direction make this one a real test of patience. Iden Chronicles is ambitious for the N64, but for most players, it was a very long road to disappointment. At number 2 on the list is Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. Some games are good because of their gameplay, others are unforgettable because of their story. Ogre Battle 64 is both, and for a lot of players, it was the game that made them fall in love with RPGs. You play as Magnus Gallant, a soldier in the Southern Division, caught in a web of political intrigue, betrayals, and the moral gray areas of war. The story is huge, hundreds of characters, a full political history you can read in-game, and multiple endings that change based on your choices and your character's alignment. Gameplay blends tactical and real-time strategy. You organize squads of up to 5 characters, move them across large battle maps, and then watch them fight automatically when they meet an enemy. Later, you can even form legions of multiple squads to strike in force, adding a deeper layer of planning. It's long, it's challenging, and you'll never see everything in one playthrough, which is exactly why people still talk about it today. Ogre Battle 64 wasn't just one of the N64's best RPGs, it's, in my opinion, one of the best technical RPGs of its era. And finally, at number 1 on the list is Quest 64. When people talk about RPGs on the Nintendo 64, Quest 64 usually comes up, often as a punchline. Released in 1998, it was the system's first RPG, and it took a bold step into fully 3D towns, fields, and dungeons long before most RPGs did. You play as Brian, an apprentice sorcerer searching for his missing father and the stolen Elatail book, traveling across a colorful, secret-filled world. Combat mixes turn-based and real-time elements. You move freely in a small battle arena, manually aim spells from 4 different magic schools, and dodge enemy attacks. Once you learn the quirks of each spell, it's surprisingly fun, though it's pretty heavily unbalanced, since earth magic can pretty much carry you through the whole game. Unfortunately, constant random encounters, repetitive battles, and uneven difficulty drag it down. Still, its charming art style, catchy soundtrack, and unique ideas make it far more than the worst RPG on the N64 label it's often given. It's rough, but for the right player, Quest 64 can still be a pretty good time. And there you have it, 10 of the most forgotten, overlooked, or just plain weird games on the Nintendo 64. Whether they were hidden gems, bizarre experiments, or beautiful messes, each of these games is a reminder that the Nintendo 64 was more than just Mario and Zelda. It was a wild, unfiltered era where developers were willing to try anything and everything. Some things succeeded, well, some didn't. But if you grew up with these games, I hope this video brought back some memories. Or if you're just discovering them now, I hope I sparked your curiosity. Well, let me know down in the comments. Which Forgotten N64 game do you think I missed on this list? If you enjoyed this list, check out my other videos on the channel and maybe hit that like button or subscribe. It goes a long way to help my channel grow. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.